Shabbat Shalom on this Parshat Tzav. Parshat Tzav details the priest's responsibilities, emphasizing the eternal fire on the altar, on the Ner Tamid, the daily offerings, and the induction of Aaron and his sons into holy service. It outlines procedures for the burnt offerings, grain offerings, sin, guilt, and peace offerings, alongside instructions for the priestly portions and prohibitions against consuming fat and blood. Lots of different things we can cover this week in Parshat Tzav, and I could be offering the longest sermon of the year on preparing for Pesach, but I'm going to spare you that. Instead, let's take a look at the first line of the Parsha. Vayadaber Adonai el Moshe lemor, and Yud-Heh-Vav spoke to Moshe, saying, command, Tzav, mitzvah, you hear the root Tzav in mitzvah, commandment, instruction. Command Aaron and his sons, saying, Zot Torah. This is the Torah. Yud-Heh-Vav is not referring to HaTorah. The word Torah can also mean an instruction or a teaching. This is the teaching of the burnt offering. Call Laila all night until the morning, and the fire of the altar shall be kept burning on it. Now, what is the most important thing for us to keep our eyes on is the following. The fire, the Aish, shall ever be burning upon the altar. It shall never go out. Aha! This should remind you of something. What hangs over the ark in every shul in the universe? Yes, of course, it is the Ner Tamid. Let's get a little fire burning here. The eternal light, which we learned from this week's Parsha, that it should always be burning as the Ner Tamid in our spiritual, our sacred spaces. However, it can also take on another meaning. Reb Zalman of blessed memory talks about the fire. He wrote a whole book about the fire called Wrapped in a Holy Flame. Teachings and tales of the Hasidic masters, because as we know, Hasidut centers on the psycho-spiritual meaning of the Torah. One of the Rebbes that Reb Zalman writes about is the Kotzker Rebbe, Menachem Mendel of Kotzk. And if he looks stern to you, that's because he was known as a very machmir, a very stern teacher. And one of the things that he placed emphasis on was that the purpose of man is to drag God into our lives. How do I do that? How do I pull divinity into my life? Perhaps we can offer a couple of possibilities. Is by way of a story. A Chabad rabbi came to the town of Kotzk, and Rebbe Menachem Mendel asked him, tell me, what does your Rebbe tell you about kavanot? About the intention you have when you are saying Shema Yisrael. Okay, so there's a little test going on here. The Chassid excitedly began telling Rebbe Menachem Mendel about the Chabad system, describing many heady intellectual things. Well, when he was done, Rebbe Menachem Mendel listened to him patiently, and then he said, aber hast du einen Kopf? Und was hast du sich in Puppik? For those of you who understand a little bit of Yiddish, basically, Menachem Mendel is saying, okay, I can understand what you got in your head, but what's going on in your kishkit? Reb Menachem Mendel, by way here of Reb Zalman, is teaching us that it's the fire in the belly that we need to pay attention to. The fire in the belly. Now, this fire in the belly, how do we keep the flame lit? Some suggestions. First of all, the symbolism of the Ner Tamid. It represents the heart, where the fire of passion, desire, and divine emotion should burn continuously. The Ner Tamid represents constant renewal. In the same way that Yud-Heh-Vav renews creation every day, we talked about before, passion must not be a one-time event, but an ongoing daily commitment that transforms everyday life into a sacred experience. More, a way to do it, small acts of kindness. Small acts of kindness are the fuel that keep the soul's inner fire alive and prevent it from becoming mundane or extinguished. And then finally, This fire symbolizes a burning desire for connection with the divine, acting as a constant reminder to kindle the flame in our personal lives. I know for me, this comes somewhat naturally because I sense divinity filling all creation and surrounding all creation. That when Elohim performed the act of tzimtzum, of withdrawing, so that be room for other, there still remained God's presence inside and out. Mimale kol olmin, v'sovev kol olmin, umi biladecha ein klum b'tziut klal. Oh Yah, you fill all worlds and surround all worlds, and Yah, without you there is no world at all. Join me, mimale kol olmin, v'sovev kol olmin, umi biladecha ein klum b'tziut klal. There's no life at all. Yah, you fill all worlds and surround all worlds, and Yah, without you there is no world at all. Yah, you fill all worlds and surround all worlds, and Yah, without you there is no world. On this Shabbat Hagadol, on this Shabbat Tzav, may we rekindle our passion for love, for kindness, and for justice.